Hello folks! Before the state of Georgia, there was the province of Georgia, the colony of Georgia. And before that, well, these lands were hotly disputed between various powers, the British, French, Spanish, and it is where we are now, a little bit south of Savannah, nearby a town called Brunswick, where the historic Fort King George stands. Now, much of this is a recreation, a restoration of what this fort might look like, but you can see ruins here. Like yesterday, we are very, very close to the Atlantic Ocean, and it is because of this location where you can find all these rivers and swamps in this maze-like series of islands, which was the reason why this area was so disputed. It wasn't easy to settle, but there was this lucrative idea that if we settled in this area of coastal Georgia, we could make a profit. So tons of people tried to settle these lands. Fort King George was the first attempt by the English to settle Georgia. And of course, this fort provides an amazing recreation of a military outpost in the early 18th century, right about the time that King George II granted a charter to settle this area. Oh yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. This is the true coast of Georgia. Nothing but marshy landscapes all around, which made it, like I said, very difficult for permanent outposts and settlements to be set up here. Now, although it's Savannah, under the leadership of James Oglethorpe, that was the first surviving city in Georgia, it's right here in Fort King George that paved the way for Georgia to be a safe haven so that the English could come in and settle Georgia, ultimately making it the state we know today here in the South. With at the time Spanish Florida to the south and the French who just wanted to grab as much land as possible in North America, you can thank Fort King George being one of those places where the English held its ground in dominance. But this is only but our first place visited in today's journey in Brunswick, Georgia. So we may as well get to stepping on that stuff. Let's head into the downtown of Brunswick. Brunswick clock. Haven't seen a clock of that sort in a while. Nice to see it. But yeah, we are transported into the downtown of Brunswick, Georgia, some 300 years later after Fort King George. And I'm sure you all remember me saying how the southern cities are a lot more peaceful and tranquil, and I'm getting that vibe from Brunswick. Now yes, it has a lot of flashy things like the palmetto trees on the sidewalk and the colorful buildings and sidewalks, but other than that, it's a very nice and quiet town. Now, with a population of around 16,000 and sadly declining year by year, Brunswick isn't the biggest city in Georgia. It's also, compared to the likes of Savannah and Atlanta, not the most toured location either. That could be a good thing though, because at least the historic downtown is preserved a little more. Not so many tourist catered shops emerge, but it's a nice, pleasant southern vibe I'm getting. It's a beautiful thing. cultural integrity of this place, Brunswick, is still intact. That would be a good way of putting it. Now, what we're looking at behind us is the historic Glynn County Courthouse. Glynn County is the county we're in, home to Brunswick, and it is one of the 8 original counties of the state of Georgia. Now, it's weird, this county courthouse is placed right in the middle of a kind of a residential area. I had to walk a bit away from the downtown, and it sure stands out like a sore thumb. But nevertheless, it is such a beautiful architectural work, and it doesn't hurt that all these palmetto trees and Spanish moss trees are right around the area, so you can take your leisurely stroll to the front and have this beautiful sight in front of you. Just encountered in my mind, through our tour of the southeast, there hasn't been many rainy days at all, if not any. I can't really recall the last time it rained here on our tour, aside from maybe off-camera drizzles. It's just such a sunny region, and being from the northeast where it rains quite a lot more often, I've got to be very, very thankful that on our adventures, we don't have to really worry about rain too much in the southeast. Perhaps it's more of a seasonal thing. I always read that the southeast is one of the rainiest regions in the country, but being here late April, maybe it's just not that rainy during this season. Maybe during the summer it gets a lot more hot, muggy, rainy, and humid. Go to Georgia in April. That's my advice. Brunswick City Hall, the old historic City Hall. This is one of Brunswick's main iconic symbols of the city. So I thought it's definitely important to show this to all of you. I personally think it's very funny and ironic how we just show up. Right next to the City Hall, there is a Coca-Cola plant. And of course, Coca-Cola was started in Georgia, not in Brunswick, but Atlanta, but pretty funny how we just, you know, Coca-Cola's everywhere here in this state. Love is a tricky idea, isn't it? Not everybody loves the same things, and there's different ways to express the idea of love. But if there's one thing we can all love here in Brunswick, Georgia, it's the Lover's Oak. Yes, just like Charleston has Angel Oak, this is another oak called Lover's Oak. And this tree has been around, and it's documented and attested to have been around since the Revolution, over 200 years ago. And I mean, look at it. It is so large that the limbs come out over the roads on both sides. This road can't even fit all of it because it has to leave space for the tree. Yet another symbol of Brunswick, Georgia, loved by all here. From here you can see the interesting Georgian landscape. Very flat, no tall trees coming out. This is what coastal Georgia is like. The environment on this coast of Georgia made for some great strategic locations. Savannah being one of them, and here in Brunswick it made for a great strategic location to build warships during World War II. These Liberty ships were built. There was a big industry in this area, and these Liberty ships were built and delivered supplies all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe, where it would help troops be nourished with supplies during the war effort of World War II. Let the backdrop behind us not confuse you though. These are just, I don't know, cruise liners or other commercial cargo ships. Nothing like the Liberty ships you would see, as was the display all the way over there behind us. Here's to Brunswick, Georgia. You could call this the smaller, lesser-known sibling of Savannah, Georgia. But here on the Georgia coast, we could be done, but I think there's one more thing I have to get done around this area. Let's just say that. So I've been told in the past by people who have gone to the South, they say, whatever you do, don't go to Waffle House. And when I tell them I want to go to Waffle House, they're like, are you crazy? Do you want to get sick and die? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a bit crazy. And two, here on the Coverage Project, we're about taking risks. We're about having fun. That's how you have fun, by taking risks, by playing it adventurously. So I went to Waffle House and I got some southern things. Waffle House can be summarized by saying it's the IHOP of the South. I mean, up in the north there are no Waffle Houses, so it was born here in Georgia. It's spread throughout the South. It's an iconic southern restaurant with hundreds of locations. We gotta try Waffle House before we leave Georgia. So here's our fine dining spread of Waffle House. This elegant meal of, yes, a waffle, can you believe it? And grits. You know, I don't really know what grits is. I've never had it before. It seems like a staple meal of mashed up grains, so there's that with a bit of butter on it. It's like an oatmeal of sorts, but it's grits. And of course, here comes the waffle. I've gotta say, it's a very, very fluffy waffle. I'm digging this. What are all these people saying Waffle House is so bad for? I would actually go if there were more Waffle Houses up in the north. What a perfect scene to end it all off here in Brunswick, Georgia. You know, having our Waffle House meal and overlooking the Turtle River with the elegant waters, the marshy coastal lowlands of Georgia, along with a nice little highway. A perfect view. Well, to end off a fulfilling day in Brunswick, Georgia, overlooking the Turtle River. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.